Ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of a certain age, it's that time again. And it's the last time. It's Daredevil. It's back to Hell's Kitchen. I brought back my main man, Sam Adams.
Hey, everybody.
And we are covering 2 episodes, the final 2. Why? Because I got tricked. The way in which this episode ends is so seamless to the next one, even with music and everything. I got tricked, and I thought I was watching 1 episode when in fact I was watching 2. So I decided to say, Sam, let's do 2. I said, let's get sponsored by Coors Light. And I said, it's the right beer now, and let's go. So here we are.
I opened mine up not wanting to make the sound on the mic. I didn't know we were going to crack them in unison.
I'll double it up in audio. It'll be beautiful.
Oh, seamless. Great. So, they'll never know.
Yeah, they'll never know. Unless we tell them now. Shoot. Okay, so finally, we get Vanessa.
I was biting my tongue last episode when you were talking about her and the painting, and I was like, oh, God, this is so tough because I knew it was just right around the corner, and then here we are. She's back.
Coming in an absolute regality in her chopper, and immediately Wilson is just absolute melted butter in front of her, which is what I love.
Yeah, no, I was glad they finally brought her back, and she really is kind of a driving point to these last 2 episodes.
But quite honestly, and now, folks, I'm gonna be honest here. You know that I tend to gush over these episodes, but you also know that I will not accept mediocrity, and I do not put mediocrity onto a pedestal. I won't do it. I won't do it because I don't believe in it, and you need the truth. There are problems here, and I wish Vanessa maybe came a little bit earlier. I found this episode of all episodes, this first one being what is this one called? Oh, the last one last shot.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of furniture moving, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's why I felt like it could have happened sooner. Like, I know I said that last episode. I would have liked to seen the Nelson and Murdoch gang get back together sooner, and I would have liked to seen Vanessa sooner. And I feel like it would have. I don't know. I feel like this is a show that the more characters, the better, and sometimes they get kind of bogged down in just having the main ones interact. And I think they could have made it a little bit better with more of like show Vanessa out in Spain being bored and lonely, or have her come back sooner and have some of these interactions with Wilson, because it's so quick. She gets home, she looks like just as thrilled to see him as he is her, and then as soon as they're inside, she's like, I just want a bath and a bed.
Yeah.
Now. I know it's right when he tells Dex in his Denim Dan outfit to like not now. But, I think that, it was kind of a weird turn of how she was kind of pumped to see him. And it was like she'd never heard him go, not in front of Vanessa before. Like, I feel like that was something that had been done in the first season. And to have her all of a sudden be like, oh, you're leaving me out. I feel so lonely. It was kind of I get it. I liked it rather than having her be kind of Carmela Soprano-esque.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on. I'm not culpable for anything that you do, kind of thing. I like that she
been in on it this whole time. I mean, she's been a part of his world.
Yeah, and I think that like a simple conversation of just being like, "Hey, I'm really attracted to you being this crazy monster animal man. So can you just let it fly in front of me? Like, I promise I won't testify." And like, it'll make things better. I'll feel like I'm part of the gang. And he'd probably been like, oh, okay. I thought I had to hide it from you, so you didn't hate me. So, okay, I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's like, it's this economy of narrative. And it's like, do I really need to see that she's jet lagged and tired? And I can only look, if you followed me through this endeavor, the sad omelet is one of the episodes with Merlin, and that was, it's like that led up just so he could make his famous French omelet, and I was just like, yeah, that's great. I have this like nostalgia for it, but let's move. Like, come on, let's roll.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this was like, okay, we've got Karen, Foggy, and Matt teaming up again, but it seems like Nadim is now a major player now in the show, at least in this episode, I should say. Like, I mean, he's been a part of the whole season, but I wasn't expecting everything to weigh on his testimony.
Yeah, and I like, again, I got to give credit to these Netflix people, is like every single Netflix show has to have a cop in it that is interesting, and I think they do a better job at creating them than say like your run-of-the-mill CBS, cops versus robbers show that comes out all the time.
I totally agree.
From Mahoney to Madani to who's our guy here? Nadim. Yeah, Nadim. Like, I think they make really interesting things, and I think I like how he puts the, they never say it from Fisk's perspective, but I like how he puts the dots together that Fisk was the one that got his sister-in-law's health insurance canceled, and was the reason that put the pressure on him. And then he, that's the reason he had financial troubles. Is he says Fisk knows how to make people vulnerable. And I like seeing that it's like, hey, not every cop under his thumb is necessarily this evil guy. It's just somebody that he put to the brink, and now they don't know what to do. And so they're stuck, and they can't get out from under it, type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think they did a really good job with that. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it was kind of a bummer that I feel like sometimes you can tell when you like one of these cops too much. They're just like, oof, this might be his last episode. And
well, and I think I like redemption arcs. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a sucker for it. However, that said, I have a little bit of an issue of these dirty cops always trying to eventually. I was always trying to do the right thing. I just wanted to be a good guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dog, you could have done that the whole time. I get that he put you in a bad position, but quite honestly, it could have been the good cop that actually sacrificed himself, a couple episodes ago, and then Matt is running with it. Not at this point where now everything hinges on this guy, not Daredevil.
Well, and I like how Matt badgers him when he really comes after him and goes like, I can't defend you if I don't know why you did this. And he finally admits like, hey, look, I just didn't want to be another FBI agent. I wanted to look like a big shot. I wanted to do well. And, I got greedy and I fell for his trap. And then I got, I got froze, and I went with it. Like, he's like, I regret it, and I want to make it right. And it's like, I like that scene because it's not like typical lawyer client relations, I'm sure. And sure, usually you have a little more bedside manner than that. But I like that it just kind of shows, Matt kind of his morals when it comes to it is that like, hey, look, I would never let Fisk control me, so how did you let it happen? Like, I need to understand if I'm going to be able to defend you.
Yeah, and I think it's funny is we keep changing gears. Well, actually, it's more me than you, actually, but we're saying more Matt than Daredevil. And I think there's something to that, and especially in these last two episodes, is that this is primarily the Matt Murdock story. Like, this is a lot of Matt stuff, not a lot of Daredevil stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's important when you're making these superhero things, is that you can't just have it be one or the other. You do have to. I think that is the interesting thing. That part of the reason we like the whole secret identity kind of hero thing, is that there is that balancing act. And even though Nadeem kind of calls it out, he goes like, you live both sides, your friends know who you are and they still accept you. And he kind of realizes how lucky he is that moment. And I think that's an interesting kind of way of summing up where he is and where, making him realize how lucky he is. Maybe he didn't see it before today, but now he does. That he's like, oh, I keep running away from these people when really I should be, praying or thankful that they're in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this episode is a very good prequel and setup for the next, for sure. Like, I mean, all the pieces start getting put together. We've got everybody who should be here is here. And, even Karen is doing, some supreme work as an investigator, and even getting back into the idea of exposing all the misgivings and all the justice that needs to happen, which I kind of enjoyed that started to happen again.
Well, and I noticed one little thing too when Karen and Matt are chatting at the gym, which I kind of wish that would have been their future law office, was they turned the gym into a law office or something like that.
That would have been dope.
Yeah, but then there's a part where she goes to leave and he doesn't say anything to her, and it kind of shows that he trusts her. It's like she's a badass, she's got it, but she also kind of, that she's like happy about that, but she's also kind of sad that innocence is gone, of not him being like, oh, be careful, are you sure you don't want me to go with you, type of thing like that.
Now, let me know, am I wrong about this? Is this the episode where Karen gives up that she killed Wesley and her brother's stuff?
No, that was an episode or two ago.
Okay.
I think it was last episode that she actually told him. But I remember it was the finale that he goes, "I'm glad you told me, Karen." And he goes, "You don't have to be."
That's right.
You don't have to live, due to your past mistakes. You become more, you're a better person than that.
Correct. Now, with Vanessa here, Dex is a little bit on the outs with good old the Kingpin.
Well, and I think he was on the outs after his performance at the church, that he didn't get the job done. He made it a high-profile thing by killing this innocent priest, terrorized all these churchgoers, didn't get Karen Page, didn't kill Daredevil, like really just made a mess of things. And he even says that he's like, I placed too much on your shoulders or something like that. He realizes he's a useful tool, but he's definitely not as much as he wants to be the next James Wesley. He is most certainly not that capable.
Correct. So, a number of misses, and Dex is a little bit on the bench side and wants to be a little bit more and do the right thing. Again, going back to the whole Vanessa thing, it was interesting to me that she kept looking at the bare wall, looking for the rabbit in the snowstorm. And I was like, how do you know that painting was going to be there? But I mean, it was, it was emblematic. We know that has to come. And then to see that the painting arrives, and we know, like, there's no way he could have gotten it any other way. And then, which I find cinematography wise, it wasn't like overt, but it was subtle-ish enough to see the little blood stain on the corner of the painting. I thought that was great.
It's crazy that, that little thing, it really kind of illustrates how haphazard Dex is with trying to please Fisk and get in his good graces, that he would, that lady lived in a huge house. He could have killed her anywhere. Why you would kill her right next to the white painting that you would get blood on it? Or that, after he killed her, he had blood on his hands and moved the painting and got it on there and didn't get it off of there. It just shows you kind of like how off the chain he is, that he's so antsy to try and get brownie points that he's sloppy. And that's something that I would never have called Wesley, except the only time he got sloppy is when he put the gun in front of Karen, trying to intimidate her, and didn't anticipate that she was going to pick it up and blast him. Yeah,
I mean, Bullseye has been set up as this precision instrument, and, but there comes a cost with that because he's, mentally just not all there. But like the fall off of Dex has been very interesting. Just to see him this downward spiral of the fatherless.
Yeah, his North Star is fading in the distance. He doesn't have much to guide him right now.
And again, this idea of even Vanessa wanting to be more part of Fisk's world, like, I think that would have been really cool to have during the entire, or at least half of the season. Like, it was just like a little too late. And I thought potentially, because if I remember correctly, I'm shaking my head bones, Vanessa gets injured in the comics, and she's almost like in a coma or doesn't remember Wilson very much. And there's this, Wilson always that was almost like a thorn in his brain and why he did the things he did was because he just wanted Vanessa back. It may have been a one-off series. I can't remember. It was a graphic novel.
I don't know. I'm not super well versed in Daredevil. Most of what I've gone back and read was because of these seasons.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
I don't know that one.
It was like a Sienkiewicz graphic novel, and it was basically that Vanessa had been injured on some level, and all she wanted to really do was escape, and it like actually just completely broke Wilson.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to look that one up.
Well, I thought it was going to happen when it came down to the end, into the finale. I thought she was going to get injured, and then that would have just made him go crazy.
That would have been an interesting twist on everything, although I guess that would have been the only thing that's keeping Matt and his friends safe, is that she is safe. Because otherwise, I feel like all of Fisk's final resources would have been poured into destroying his life.
Yeah.
Which they still could be. That's the one thing about the end that I'm just like, do you really trust him?
Well, let's go ahead and make that jump. As we're moving through into the finale, when we were talking about him as kind of almost one episode but two parts. I think that's the way I like to look at it a little bit more. Is, Matt is off the chain, and he's basically going to kill Wilson, which, it makes sense. But I think in reality, even I knew that Matt Murdock wasn't going to do that. Like, I mean, his level of kill isn't that high.
Yeah, although he did play with his image well when he was torturing Felix Manning and holding him off the roof and just kind of sitting on the edge of the roof, dangling his feet like he doesn't have a care in the world. I kind of love that imagery. That reminded me kind of something you would see in the comic books. Because otherwise, who would want to sit on the edge of a building? It's scary up there.
Exactly. I mean, it really. I mean, he was ready to go and ready to do what it was like. The whole crew's here, but I'm going to go rogue, but I'm going to come back again. And again, we're talking more on the Matt side of things, even though he does have to do the Daredevil thing at the end. Which, again, the final fight scene is very cool. On one level, with, you have Kingpin and Daredevil going after each other, which I thought, they scream at each other and then just barrel it in both to each other. And then they add a whole new dynamic, which is that Vanessa and Dex are part of it, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, I like the kind of 3-for-1 aspect of how Dex is there. I forget, is he trying to kill Vanessa at that point? Yeah, so both of them are trying to save her. Daredevil's trying to fight both of them. Fisk is trying to fight both. Dex is kind of just a wild card, and I kind of like that three-way fight of how it's all kind of each person's doing different things. Daredevil's saving someone that maybe doesn't deserve saving. and he's kind of going back to his roots when he sees it's almost like he's getting a reflection of, do you really want to become that guy? Because that guy has no problem going and killing people. Or are you going to be what you started as, this, vigilante in the black that's just trying to help and make Hell's Kitchen a better kitchen?
Well, and on the timing of things, this happens in the middle of the finale. So I find that very interesting that they got that out of the way, like kind of front loaded. Like we knew it was coming. All right, let's give it to you. And we start with essentially getting close to the wedding, which I kind of thought that it struck me funny.
Did you almost kind of forget they weren't married already?
Yes.
I
Totally,
did too.
100%.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way, and was surprised at how I was like, oh, that's right, they weren't married. I think he gave her a ring, and then and then she left, and he got arrested. But I just kind of never kind of occurred to me that they were still just dating. Yeah, he's flying her around the world.
Exactly. It was just strange to me. It's like there's compression and then there's compression, and it was just like. Do we I would much have rather seen him get out of jail, get the shiny white coat on him, and then get married. That would have made a little bit more sense to me than to save it for now.
Yeah, or if you're going to go through the rigmarole of having him have a wedding, have it earlier in the season and have her involved sooner. I think that's the other kind of thing that you could do, because, it definitely had, 13 episodes. There was definitely some lag in the middle where you could have, moved the plot along a little bit, and having her there and maybe be some of the driving force behind some of the bad decisions that happen from Fisk's perspective, rather than just being the one bad decision where she says that she should kill Nadim, and Felix Manning rolls over on it right away.
Yeah, and I think is the whole wedding scene. Its whole purpose is to have Dex there, but it's also to, and I don't mean to be this guy, but technology doesn't work this way where everybody's phone starts showing a video of Nadim and his, it just doesn't work exactly that way, especially when people are in video mode and like absolute nincompoops shooting video vertically, which aggravates the absolute shit out of me. But regardless, it's a thing. We just have to learn to live with it. But I consistently ask people, I'm like, oh, does your wrist hurt? Could you have not turned your phone over? No, apparently not. And apparently nobody in any of the phone companies have decided that if they're going to hold it that way, just rotate it so that everything's nice.
Oh, that would be wonderful. But,
it would be.
People need their selfies.
I guess, but this vertical video is just absolutely astonishing.
So I have a note on Fisk's wedding. So he invites all of the heads of the crime in New York to his wedding.
Correct.
Where is Luke Cage? Is he racist? Because Luke is running Harlem, correct?
But he's not a bad guy.
I thought he was in charge of all of the crime in Harlem at the end.
All right, now look, you're equating me with somebody that saw season 2 of Luke Cage.
Oh, so okay. So I saw it once, so I thought that was kind of how it ended, was that he was going to kind of let people do some criming, but as long as it was not too much under his watch or something like that.
Well, I was just amazed that they even made reference to Jessica Jones. They made 0 references to anybody.
Yeah, especially for being season 3, everybody's pretty familiar that these other things exist. I mean, I think did they maybe mention Frank at one point? When they were talking about killing people?
Yeah, I think so.
That's maybe it. And he was in Daredevil season 2. Yeah, I think that this is where I think Disney Plus shows are going to really scratch our itches, is that it's going to be the whole it's all connected thing. Whereas this, they didn't even really do that great a job of connecting the shows. Like, they had a couple episodes of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and then nobody in either of his 2 seasons besides one Iron Fist. Just why you wouldn't cross these characters over more often. I can't imagine that they were so expensive that to get him to do an extra episode of Iron Fist was like ridiculously exorbitant or anything. And especially these ones, it could just be some plot. Although, you know what? They do call what's her face a better investigator than Jessica Jones.
Exactly. That's the only reference besides Frank that you hear, and I don't even know exactly how that reference tracks. I didn't watch Jessica Jones 1 or 2. I mean, I know I watched part of 1, but it falls deaf on me. And we talked a little bit off air on this, which was this interconnection within the MCU. And believe me, I realize this is not the MCU. This is different. However, sometimes I think those interconnections, at least interconnections with chemistry, work really well, and it's worth exploring. Do I want Daredevil to have every connection to everybody in New York? Not necessarily. I mean, for me, as more of a Daredevil purist, I don't want those people involved. But I am open to the idea of it, as long as it doesn't neuter what Matt is to me.
Well, and it doesn't take a lot. I mean, you can have him be like, "Hey, Foggy, sorry, I don't have a suit that flies me around and tells me what to shoot at. I got to do it myself," or something like that. I mean, you can really make little vague references to other people.
That line could have been used easily.
Yeah, he's like, or just think, "Oh, wish I had a shield," or just it could just be stupid stuff like that are little throwaway lines. And
I don't use webs.
Yeah, like I can see why the other guy swings, or just any kind of just little things like that. That and it's easy, and it doesn't really have to have any weight on the greater like MCU storyline or anything. Just to have little throwaway lines like that, and I think that's kind of maybe the more important part of making these things interconnected, is that you can reference them, and sometimes it'll be a little plot point moving forward, and sometimes it'll just be like, oh, that's Stark Tech.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Like, it's not that hard. Or, they weren't afraid to throw old Justin Hammer under the bus in Luke Cage.
Well, do we have any knowledge about where things stand as they are right now? I know Vincent D'Onofrio has been very outspoken, and it seems like something is brewing in the Disney Plus, but I don't know exactly, based around contracts and things of that nature, where it stands today as of September, what day is it? 28th?
Yeah. Well, I went through and made a little map of what's coming up, just because I was curious. I have the theory of that you're not going to see a lot of solo movie launches going through. I think you'll either see them launch on Disney Plus, the show, and then roll into a movie, or kind of the Black Panther Spider-Man method of showing up in a solo or team movie and then rolling out into their old movie kind of thing. So next year it's light. We only have Black Widow and Eternals, and then they're doing Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. But 2021 is jammed after the whole Sony announcement. So movie-wise, it's their first year with 4 movies. They're going to have Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Thor. That's already crazy. And then Disney Plus is going to have WandaVision, Loki, What If, and Hawkeye.
Yeah. Because apparently, as it stands right now, folks, we're in a tangent, so just bear with us. A lot of news has happened, and this is not why it's taken me so long to do this show, but it's important that I took this long, because so much has happened. Spider-Man's gone, and now he's back, but we don't know at what level. But I know the Doctor Strange movie coming back is like kind of a linchpin to these other films, as I understand it. Especially WandaVision, I think.
Yeah, I mean, WandaVision is supposed to roll right into Doctor Strange, and they say it's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So that it sounds like that Spider-Man got you prepped for the multiverse. They said something about Earth 616.
Yes.
They're trying to get the idea planted in your head. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse has come out. I think multiverse things are people are starting to understand it. I mean, even Endgame kind of threw it out there that you're not time traveling, you're going to different universes type of stuff. So I think that makes it really interesting is that, I think that's the lazy way of how you bring mutants into it, but who knows? Maybe they want to launch everything into a Secret Wars and then have everything merged together and then blow it all up all over again in 10 years. I don't know exactly how they're going to do this, but yeah, I kind of wrote all this out kind of wondering, when do you think some of these characters are going to be reintroduced? Because I don't know that they're going to bring back any of these actors in these roles. I think that ship's probably going to sail. But I could see them bringing back any of these actors in different roles, because they're bringing Mahershala Ali back, and he was the main villain of Luke Cage. So they're obviously not afraid to bring some high profile people over into the movie universe. So I wouldn't be surprised if they brought, who knows? Maybe they just go, hey, Vincent D'Onofrio, much like J. Jonah Jameson, we can't imagine another actor playing Wilson Fisk. We're going to bring you back. Here's this suit that makes you twice as wide for the movies.
Yeah. My fear, especially with Mahershala, that was a really bad one. He should have been the big bad throughout Luke Cage, and they blew that one. But that's a whole nother story. That was a blown opportunity, and they didn't see it, and that's for good, bad, or indifferent, it's what it is. He's Blade now, apparently. My fear with Daredevil, and again, I take it personally. I wrap myself up in it. I don't think that we're going to get a Charlie Cox. I also am not sure. As much as I love him, I don't know if everyone else loves Daredevil as much as I do, and I don't know if it translates to the screen. I think it's best on its TV axis, and as long as they could do that well and bring it to Disney Plus, more power to them. If they do it well and I find out about it, I will probably subscribe. That would be that, and I hate to say this, The Mandalorian is very, very tempting for me right now. It's very tempting. After seeing that trailer, like realistically, I'm to find out that Bill Burr is in it, and maybe even as just a small segment of it, I'm very excited about it.
I'm very excited about what they're doing in general, because one of the things I'm happiest about what Disney Plus is doing is that they're doing weekly episode rollouts. And that seems like a small thing because we're in this binge culture.
Yes.
And even you, in the slowest of slow binges, still succumb to the back-to-back episodes. You couldn't help it. Yep. You just Netflix gotcha.
It got me.
I kind of like this slowing it down, because I think that if Game of Thrones had been dropped 10 episodes at a time, it would have never been as popular as it was.
I think you're absolutely 100% correct.
But the simple fact that it took up 20% of everyone's year, where people were like, oh my God, did you see last night's episode? Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen next week? I'm going to watch this YouTube. I kind of laugh when I think about how much entertainment I got out of that 1 hour a week based on YouTube theory videos and podcasts and all kinds of stuff that you would read, articles that would just spawn from those 1 hour episodes. It gave people time to
discuss and digest, have some water cooler arguments about. And that's... at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of what entertainment's supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think that it makes it brings back the importance of the individual episode, as opposed to telling, well, here's this 6 hour stories, let's chop it up into 6 parts. And and jam it out there and have an exciting thing happen at the end of every episode. So you want to see where it concluded. And I think that's good to get rid of that because, like I have favorite episodes of Game of Thrones or Sopranos, but it's a little harder with shows like Daredevil to have a favorite episode. I think of favorite things that happened, or like same with like Stranger Things, or, you have like things like, oh, wasn't this character awesome? Or wasn't this part cool? But you don't go like, oh, remember 4th of July, like with wait, was that an episode title? I don't know what the titles are,
yeah.
kind of thing. And I think that's good that they're bringing that back, especially because then it doesn't seem so daunting of, oh, a new show came out, I need to binge it over the weekend so I can read all the articles and listen to all the podcasts. You can almost just kind of follow along, and it kind of brings back that water cooler talk. My favorite shows were that exactly where, it started off with everybody talking about, did you see The Simpsons last night? And morphed into, did everybody see Seinfeld last night? And, ever since then, that's one of the things I like about watching, good TV that other people do, is that water cooler talk and that breaking down of what people thought or what their favorite part was, and, what your favorite line or things like that. And I don't think you get that when people are marathoning shows 6 months apart.
Oh, and let's just say this. You're preaching to the saved, Sam. And like, for example, with in the realm of being an artist and creating these self-contained episodes that span, like, for example, the finale is called A New Napkin. And I can tell you straight away, like you were asking me about episode titles and like, do I remember them? Well, one in particular is The Punisher, One Batch, Two Batch. Like, that's in my head. Like, I know that episode. And it's nice to be able to know an episode's title and to have like that kind of like, we thought this through. Like, it won't make any sense to you until the very end.
Yeah, and I think that makes the individual, it makes the individual episodes more powerful. I mean, no matter what you think about the last season of Game of Thrones, if I tell you, if I tell you A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, you're going to know it's the episode Brienne got knighted, and you're going to be like, oh, that was one of the best things about the last season. And it's like, you don't have that with these. It's really just these 13-hour shotgun
yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, this is the first I'm hearing about the weekly drops, and that actually excites me.
And really, I think it makes it so that less people will do that thing of, well, I'm just going to subscribe for a month, catch up on my shows, catch up on my stories, and then get rid of it. I think that I actually kind of posed this question on the TV Talk Machine recently and said, I wonder if Disney doesn't look at this and go, hey, the future is not these blockbuster movies. The future is getting people to subscribe to your service and stay sending you that cold hard cash every month. And what's the best way to do it? We put little 6-episode shows up here that people will watch, and it just builds our already massive library. It keeps us in the conversation. Like, I think that they said in 2021, Marvel's going to have something out like every week or every other week of the year. And it's just like how best to stay in the conversation than to be constantly dropping content like that. And there's ones like Loki or What If that if you miss it, probably won't kill you. You can probably miss those and not be distraught over what's going to happen next. But I think that weekly drop, it makes it more interesting. Like, that it's coming out, you know what day it comes out. It's as opposed to now, like we were talking about, I think off air, I think we were talking about The Irishman. I'm not even sure what day that comes out, and I know it's coming out on Netflix.
Right. Interestingly enough, The Irishman, I actually want to see in the theater because of who's in it and who directed it, and I want to see it in that format.
I agree. That's one of the reasons I was thinking about it, is because I wanted to look up and see when it came out, because I would like to make a priority of seeing it in the theater. It really does, Scorsese, that
exactly.
cast. It's like,
how many films does he have left?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like one where it's time to put the movie into airplane mode. I mean, the phone into airplane mode, throw it in your pocket, and get in the comfy recliner seat and sit back and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And don't get distracted.
Look, I look. entertainment is a business, always has been, but this idea, especially in the business that I'm in, this with having annual, accrued revenue is key. And to be able to bring people in and keep them feeding you their $10, $20 a month, whatever it might be. I mean, as long as you keep them full, they'll keep paying, and they'll pay every month without thinking. I have CBS All Access. I can't even cancel the thing. Have I watched it? Nope.
Hey, and you know what I was just thinking about? How much do you want to bet that by 2021 they'll be like the Disney/Marvel will have something like, hey, want to watch the entire season of WandaVision in one sitting? We've got a theater that'll show it to you for $50, and it's a marathon thing, and you can watch it all at once. And they'll get people that already subscribe to their service coming in to go to the theater too, and be doubling up on that kind of stuff.
How interesting is that?
But
we're literally getting you to pay twice.
Yeah, I literally do think that that's what they're thinking, though, is that they go, even though we're going to start this off at an absurdly cheap, like, what is it, like $6.99 a month or something. I think that they're looking at it and going like, if we can eventually get people to commit to giving us $10 a month, isn't that better than getting them to see 5 movies a year? And I think that's kind of where some of these entertainment companies are heading, is they know, especially people's TV setups and sound systems are better than they've ever been. So, there's things that aren't as important of seeing in the theater as they used to be.
Look, for a year and a half, I was installing home theater systems. Badass ones. And quite honestly, it really rivaled the bullshit I have to deal with going to the theater. Now, in Petaluma, we have a little bit of a nicer one where I am actually buying. I know where I'm going to sit before I get there. And that's a nicety.
That I've become a snob about that, to where sometimes if I look and I see there's not enough seats, I'm like, not going to that showing. Or,
exactly.
And picking one where it's like, ooh, here's one where I can get a space between me and the other person in the middle. Like, great. I've totally, especially, just regular seats. Like, no, I want the recliner. I live in kind of the more on the border of the North and East Bay over here in Benicia, so we have a lot of options when it comes to that. And so all the theaters have really stepped their game up when it comes to the picking your seats and everything. And
I just bought 5 seats for Joker on Friday. So come Friday, I will become a knife-wielding toxic white male. So just to let you all know, that's what's going to happen.
Do the seats come with like Gallagher-esque plastic that you lift up, except it's Kevlar?
That's right. Because apparently all hell's going to break loose because somebody decided that having a interesting character that may be a bad guy, that it will all turn into bad guys, whatever the case may be. Keep your comments at the door or fire them at me. I really don't care. But that was exciting for me to be able to kind of own my viewing experience. And that's a nice thing.
It's interesting that nobody had a problem with the Joker being in the Suicide Squad, but now that he's the head of the movie, people are really worried about it. I don't know. It definitely seems like people saying Eminem is causing, the like degradation of our youth or something back in the day. It seems like the next thing that we want to blame stuff on, and not, like, I really am kind of knocking on wood and saying, like, I really hope nothing bad happens. And I feel like
I agree.
I feel like comic books and comic book movies are kind of a community for the most part that, even if you're a quote unquote hater because you don't like a certain thing, everybody kind of comes at this with a place of love, and that we like these stories and everything. So I really don't anticipate there being any issues with protests or whatever, but like I really hope there isn't, just because something could happen just because of what what the climate is in America. It doesn't necessarily have to be the stupid movie, but I just hope nothing happens in a movie theater that way.
Sam, you just used a word that I have not heard used very often. While we're talking about all these things, I hear it in a certain way, but not the way you said it. But you actually use the word "a place of love." Mm-hmm. we tend to say, I love this, I love that. But like, the idea of like just loving your neighbor and love the people around you, it's like that's like a lost art. And especially in this where we're all rooting for our sides, our tribes. It's like, but we're all here because we kind of want to see this. So let's just kind of like love that experience and like be good to each other for once, not try to kill each other off of, whatever it might be. But I think we all know where I'm going with this, but it's kind of unique that you even said that.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I'm not a big midnight movie fan. The last time I went to one actually at midnight, I remember I was so tired at work the next day and I was like, never again.
Yeah,
but that's why I'm so happy they have the midnight on the East Coast rule or whatever, where they start showing stuff over here at 9, 10 o'clock, and I can go to those. And some of those have been some of the most fun showings I've been to. Like I remember like Infinity War, Endgame, the first Star Wars kind of reboot, episode 7, they were all really fun to go to in the theater that night because everyone was just generally excited. Every other person had some kind of t-shirt on, everyone knew what you were seeing based on what you were wearing to the theater anyways. Sure. And it was just kind of a fun experience where you're like, wow, everybody's on the same team here. Like nobody's going to make fun of you for your nerd shirt or anything like that. And so, I sometimes forget about the stuff that happened back in, what was it? 2009, it was 10 years ago, Aurora or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because, I think of those as such a kind of a joyous thing and place to be where everyone there's nobody there that just wandered into the theater that night. Those are all people that bought their tickets a week ago, have been excited to see that movie for 2 months, 2 years, maybe even if they follow everything. And, it's just kind of a fun atmosphere. Like I remember at Endgame how many times I either clapped or yelled out where I was not the only one, and I felt like, oh, that was fun. And I usually am very anti-yelling or clapping at movies, but this was one where I was just like, yeah, we've all been waiting for this for 10 years. Like, there's been some stuff in here that it's just like, oh, that melt my heart.
And this is two different ideas right now. One is, I don't believe everything has to interconnect. I don't think a franchise like where everything has to go step by step and we're waiting for the next phase. I'm as a former filmmaker, I'm very invested in, if you can do a one-off great story, fantastic. And that's really what I look at with these Daredevil seasons, is I look at it as one big whole. I try to, at least. And then, the interconnectedness is great on a business model, but having stuff like, for example, the Joker, and I know this is not Daredevil, guys, I know that, but like it seems
we'll steer it back eventually.
We'll get there. I would love to see. I mean, I'm excited to see something that's just a one-off, and it's that is self-contained and something that you can rewatch and be like, that's a really good movie, and it doesn't have to have seeds for anything else. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, and I think that's where these big companies miss the mark. As we were kind of talking about this before, is that you can make references to the bigger world without it having to be a scene of a movie. It literally can be just these throwaway lines of, kind of the ones I was pitching for, just the Defenders people. It's just you throw away something like Stark Tech or Hammer Tech, and it doesn't have to mean that the new Iron Man movie does anything differently, or and it's same with like these DC movies. Like I think that you can mention, a guy jumping around on rooftops at night, and it doesn't move anything in the universe, but it does show that, oh yeah, we are aware that there's a Batman, and we are aware that there's a Superman, and we are aware that there's these other things in this universe, but they don't really affect this movie. And I think that that's where some of these people get lost, is they get so excited on the world building that they sacrifice the plot for that. And I think that's where it seems like this Joker is not doing that. They're like, hey, this is just a movie that we wanted to tell about a Joker guy, and we'll go from there. I mean, I think it looks somewhat influenced by the I forget which comic it is, where it kind of has a semi-Joker origin story. And I don't know. I think it looks good. I'm not like I'm more Team Marvel than Team DC, but I don't hate it or anything. I just not as excited to see it like opening night or anything.
Sure.
But yeah, I will definitely go see it the first week it's out, I'm sure.
So, Sam, I mean, we looked at the whole, these self-contained things and entertainments. And here we are back at Daredevil. And we look at the Born Again, basically mirroring of this season. Did it pay off?
I thought it was pretty good, although I don't remember how the Born Again comic really resolves itself to Fisk knowing Matt's true identity. I don't remember if he stages some kind of thing to trick him, or do you remember how
it starts off fairly early, and that's why he has to go into hiding. So a lot of things have changed. I'm okay with the changes.
I mean, rather than blowing up his apartment,
exactly,
the FBI raid it and it's under surveillance. I mean, like that's a good update. I mean, in the comic books, it looks good to blow it up, but
Karen's not a drug addict.
Yeah, I like the way that they updated her making just kind of a mistake, and that he already kind of knew he'd had a file on him, but her trying to get him to make a mistake, and she, kind of got cross-punched and didn't see it coming.
There is one particular thing that I wish was there, which isn't there, which is I thought there was a missed opportunity when Matt was talking with Maggie. And basically, Maggie's going to become the guiding force, or the sounding board to Daredevil.
The new Father Lantham role,
and
basically. He
could have easily said, and unfortunately, he doesn't know, and he could have said, It's nice to have you in my corner, Mom. And I thought that could have been fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
On the idea of what I just said, which was basically the boxing reference, and also acknowledging that he knows that Maggie is his mom. Because at this point, he still doesn't know. Karen does, but he doesn't.
Oh, no, he knows.
Wait, does he?
Yeah, no, remember, he figures it out when she's praying, and the last time he talks to Father Lantham is confronting him about it.
Oh, crap, you're right.
Yeah, so I had some notes on this.
See, that's a double miss.
Well, and you kind of noticed that it seemed like he was letting both his mom and God back into his life at the end there.
Yeah.
One thing, I love the little nitpicks I have. So Daredevil makes a comment. He goes, geez, looks like half of Hell's Kitchen's here. And that church is maybe a third full.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so the cops are there. The press is there. Why is this church not full? And part of it was that I've been to a deacon's funeral before, and I've never seen more. And now he was very well loved in our town, but I've never seen more people at a funeral. So a priest gets murdered in his church defending his flock. That church is going to be full.
And Sam, I think you're eyesight shaming just a little bit.
Eyesight?
Well, Daredevil can't see who's in there.
He knows exactly how many butts are in seats.
That's
he can
true.
Hear the,
he's got to play it off. He's got to play it off.
Yeah, but maybe that was part of it. It's like, wow, never seen a fuller church. They're like, oh yeah.
Oh, I'll be a Daredevil apologist all day long until
everyone shuffle their feet a little bit. He thinks it's full.
That's right.
Make it sound louder.
There was rain outside. He couldn't tell.
And then the other thing that threw me off is that I feel like the Foggy Nelson deli does not look like a deli. Like it really just looks like a room with like some shelves on it.
Yeah, it's very much bodega-esque.
But I have to give it credit. They've got the real deal Nina tomatoes on the shelves back there. That is like that's the good shit if you can get your hands on those canned tomatoes. Okay. So there's somebody back there that knows what they're doing. It really does look like this is the family business that they're like, why didn't you want to work here, Foggy? It's like, well, because it's a couple of shelves and a kitchen table over there. Like, I don't even know where we make the sandwiches, Ma. Like,
yeah. I thought it was, I want to give it like a B. And the only thing stopping it is I think I don't agree necessarily with the bullseye ending, because why can't we just have bullseye? Like, maybe episode 8 or 9, like the real deal bullseye. And maybe Melvin hooks Matt up with a whole new suit. I don't know. These are extreme nitpicks.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, because I could have used an updated Daredevil suit by the end of this. Like, as much as I like could you imagine if you merged the black suit with the Daredevil suit and he had like a black one?
Sure.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, and I think that they played it like they were getting a 4th season, and they were genuinely shocked they didn't. I thought they did a pretty good job this year, and they expected to get at least a 4th season to wrap everything up. So the fact that Disney kind of pulled the plug on it, I think, genuinely was a shock, because I think they were expecting to have a 4th season with Bullseye and have him be the main bad guy. And I think if they'd have known that this was going to be the finale, I think they would have sped everything up. It did kind of reek to me of a season where they were holding some stuff back for the next season, and I think they'd have been better off throwing the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
And it would have made for a better finale.
Well, and I think, especially after season 1, I think they did that. I think they put their nuts on the line and did that. And then something got comfortable, and again, I hate to beat this one down, it got ninja-fied, which is okay on one level, but again, we all know what season 2 was. It ultimately, for me, season 2 was the Frank story, and that's what I was excited about. And that spun out to Punisher, which is great. And this really redeemed the losses of even really Defenders I wasn't super into, but it gave me, it led in, Defenders led into this, so I'm okay with that. So, if season 1's an A, season 2 is a C, this is definitely a solid B.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I think there was good. I thought they got back to, having a little bit more good Daredevil fisticuffs.
Yes.
He did have some good fights against Dex. That final fight was pretty good.
In the prison fight scene was dope as hell.
That was good. Yeah, that was great. I thought that was even better than when they tried to redo the hallway scene in season 2. I thought that was a better version of that. Yeah. And it really did show like the chaos of like a jail being like overthrown, like how much madness that would be.
Yeah.
The one of my nitpicks for that final like showdown with everybody is that they did get a little too throw you through stuff cliche-y.
Oh, very much.
Yeah, which I like it. I think it's a powerful thing to show, like, just how much you're getting your ass kicked if you get thrown through something. But like, somebody gets thrown through that kitchen table at one point where I'm like, that thing is sturdy, and it made it look like cardboard.
That broke away a little too well for hardened oak.
Yeah, like I like Fisk punching the brick and just it cracking a little bit. Like, I kind of like stuff like that. And he reacting
to it because I just punched a brick wall.
Yeah, like it hurt him,
Yes.
So I thought that was good use of it. But I did think that there was like, I think the kitchen table was the one too many where I was like, okay, I can tell that's pretty fake table there. But no, I think they did good. Well, we skimmed, since we kind of skimmed over the details of the episode. I have to go back to 2 of my Matt using his powers in an interesting way alert. The first being when he's acting like a blind guy outside of Mrs. Mahoney's house, and he's really just scanning the neighborhood to see if anybody's looking at them right now.
Yes.
And that was great. And then the escape when they send the snipers after Nadim and they're surrounded in the van and he's telling them to shoot blindly at these points in the van to kill the assassins. I thought that was awesome. And that whole escape sequence where they're getting out of the traffic jam and he's switching from blind guy asking for help to kicking everybody's ass.
That was cool. That was a really great, interesting way of having him flip without a suit.
Yeah, and I think that's good where you have him still using Matt Murdock as a disguise to not show who he really is type of thing. And although I didn't get the joke at the end when they get up to, he goes, there's a car up front, and they get to it and they go, oh shit, it's a cab. Like, why did that matter? And then Nadim going, I think I should drive. And I kind of went, wait, was that a race joke or was that a blind joke? I'm not sure which one that was.
Yeah, I can only assume because it sticks out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they probably wanted something a little more inconspicuous.
Yeah,
I guess.
That's the only thing I could think of. But it was good. I mean, quite honestly, the action in season 3 was never felt except for the finale. It never felt completely over the top and like crazy. Like almost to the point of dumb.
Well, and sometimes just the tracking doesn't make sense. Like there's a point where he yells at Vanessa to go down the stairs and get out of there, and then it shows them fighting for like 2 minutes, and then it turns around and Vanessa's like up a step.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I thought that they could have let Daredevil and Dex fight it out and gotten away, and they both stayed. And I was kind of like, why does Fisk stay, and why is she not going? And the other thing is, like, I don't get why it seemed like Fisk wanted Daredevil to kill him at the end.
Yes,
it's like do it, and I was like, why does he want to die here? I don't know what the motivation is there. Like, is it just because he failed Vanessa, or I don't know what that was.
Somebody got too excited about blood on the canvas.
Yeah, I did have in my notes. Bye, rabbit in a snowstorm.
Yeah, and they wanted that bookend, and I was like, I see what you did there, but Wilson's not going to ask for death. That's the last thing he wants.
Oh, you bloodied their relationship? I see what you did.
Yeah. And like little things in that scene, in that whole sequence where he's putting his jacket over her. I mean, stop. You're not going to think that way.
Yeah, no, it was weird. Although I did love the final shot of Matt like crouched on the corner of the roof, and, like listening. Although it did seem a little bit like Spider-Man-y at the same time.
Yeah, I got the Batman vibe hard, and I was like thinking to myself, you guys filmed this, and you guys got really excited about it, and then you started like, how can we build to that?
Well, and plus it's like, there's so much imagery of him hanging on like crosses and stuff too. You could have had him listening from you could have had him listening from the church. You know, he can listen to what's going on from a million miles away, and so he doesn't need to be like right there. All the principal players are down. Dex's back is broken. Fisk is arrested, surrounded by police. They're letting you walk out the door. Mahoney just vouched for you.
And one thing I've always said, and this is repetitive, but the one thing I do love about this show is that it does show consequences to physical altercation. That getting at least even 2 to 3 punches in the face has a consequence, and there's a believability to the violence that I don't get out of a lot of other Marvels. To be honest with you. The TV shows, yes, but in the cinematic world, not as much.
I know what you mean.
And it sounds like we're kind of poo-pooing the end. And in a sense we are, but on the grand scheme, it all works. I just, quite honestly, I'm not exactly sure what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the ending worked well, that you're making this deal with the devil type of thing, that you'll finally let Fisk see your face. You'll let him know who you are, but you won't go after his wife. And I mean, while I'm like, why would Fisk even like entertain this deal? I think the first thing he would do would go downstairs, strangle that camera lady. He'd get what's his face? Eli Manning or whatever.
Yeah.
something Manning. Felix Manning.
Yeah.
Felix Manning would wake up dead the next day in his jail cell, and then he would, burn all those tapes and bye anything that Daredevil could use as evidence to get Vanessa, and all of a sudden it's open season on him and Foggy and everybody. Like, that's the way I think that Fisk would think. And so that's the only reason it didn't feel like the most satisfying conclusion, because it just didn't. You just were kind of like, what? Yeah. Do you really trust this guy to keep any sort of word? And I don't think he's honorable. He murders people. He literally kills the messenger. He does things like that. So that's one of the reasons I think it's a little underwhelming. And then, you kind of got it teased that this guy's going to be Bullseye, this guy's going to be Bullseye, but he just wore the Daredevil suit the whole time. And, that kind of got old by the end. It would have, even if it was just for the final fight, it would have been neat if he, like, took his old baseball cap and ripped it up, turned it into a mask, or I don't know. It would have been neat if he did something just to be like, I'm not him. I'm done being him. I'm being my own person. And he, then you get a taste of it.
That would be great character evolution.
Well, I think that's where they miss. I think they miss some of the character development. Like, I've talked about how it would have been nice to see the deeper world of this, like show Vanessa in Spain, show Mahoney talking to his mom. Like, how great would it be if when they go hide out at Mahoney's mom's house at the beginning of the first episode, if she was smoking one of those cigars that Foggy got her in like the very first episode, just little stupid shit like that. And it just makes everything a little deeper. It shows you why Mahoney's annoyed by Foggy that he sneaks his mom cigars. Maybe we find out how they actually know each other. Just little things like that I think would have been better than we could have had one less scene of Vanessa complaining that she was lonely and not really explaining what she wanted Wilson to do about it.
Well, and then part of me, like, as much as I've downplayed these tie-ins, it starts to spark my imagination in that, what if they decided that there's going to be a prison scene with Michael Keaton and Vincent D'Onofrio and kind of discussing the idea of a Sinister Six? That kind of like, prison talk. That would be very interesting to me. I don't know if I want that, and I don't know, how much I can handle a Spider-Man, especially as it is existing now, and Daredevil. I don't know where those two things could mix.
Well, and that's interesting. That's one of the reasons I did my whole little schedule here, is I was wondering, when could we see some of these characters start to pop up? Because my theory that I think they'll be integrating some of these characters into movies as they come out. And I was thinking, where could we see? I figured Fisk or Daredevil would probably be the two characters that we would see from this universe first somewhere. I mean, I doubt that we're going to get an Iron Fist, in the Shang-Chi movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that I was like, Spider-Man could be it, but I don't know that, like you said, I think the reports of them winding down him being in the universe are probably true. I think that they probably don't feel like having to go through this headache of negotiating with Sony every couple of years. I think they'd almost just rather let Sony run it in the ground again, make it worthless, and then be like, oh, see, you're not as good at making movies as you thought. Now we want to buy it, and we're going to give you half of what you would have gotten for it if you just played ball with us. So I think that that's eventually where that's heading. So I don't think the next Spider-Man movie is going to have a crazy cliffhanger that affects the entire MCU the way this did. So I think that maybe they're winding that down. So I don't see him showing up in there. Although that was what I was wondering, is they've really been teasing who bought Avengers Tower and only the Spider-Man movies. And so I was thinking the candidates are, what's his face? Green Goblin.
Norman Osborn.
Norman Osborn, but it could be Wilson Fisk that bought it. So,
interesting.
I thought that was an interesting way that you could move him in. And then looking at the other kind of movies and TV shows, like, I don't know that you would want to introduce Daredevil in a Blade movie. Probably not going to introduce him in a Captain Marvel or Guardians of the Galaxy or even Black Panther. But he could be opposing counsel in a She-Hulk TV show.
Interesting. I haven't really thought about She-Hulk in probably 20 years.
Or maybe even you have Foggy Nelson be the opposing counsel. I mean, I think that's maybe the sweet spot for where you could backdoor introduce one of these characters back into the MCU. But I don't know, maybe not, because it is shortened series, and you probably don't want to take too much focus off of the main character, especially when it's something like She-Hulk. You're probably going to have Mark Ruffalo show up in it, at least for an episode. And, how much are you going to jam into, 6 episodes?
Well, and ultimately this becomes bit parts. And most of these actors, they want something stable and something that they can, get residuals off of. If we put D'Onofrio in, that would be interesting, but how long do you keep him in?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because I think that the next time you introduce a Kingpin, I don't think it's going to be a one-off character. I think that if you're going to have him in your MCU, you're going to want him pulling some strings and being a big bad guy, or at least part of a group of big bad guys for a little while. He's not the kind of guy. He's not like a one-and-done movie character. Especially how interesting they made him in this series, of how good he was at manipulating people and having his web of influence. I mean, I thought that was one of the best parts of Into the Spider-Verse, is when Peter Parker is dying and he goes, "Wear a mask, always wear a mask. You can't trust anybody." He's got everyone in his pocket.
Mm-hmm. He's probably the more interesting of the villains of the MCU, where they could actually use him in a more expanded role. Unfortunately, I don't see the same thing for Daredevil.
Yeah, I wonder if Daredevil, I don't know, is he just going to be kind of a side guy that maybe pops into shows every once in a while and you don't really know much about him?
And maybe that's why I always loved him.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, I never really read him a lot except for what I've read from the shows. So I did always like when he popped up, and, I do appreciate these shows for seeing, just kind of that blind superhero stuff. It's the very same reason I couldn't get my dad to watch more than 15 minutes of it. I was enamored by, where just seeing this blind guy that, he cannot see things, but he can tell by the angle that your arm is shaking which way you're pointing the gun. Mm-hmm. And he can tell by the beat of your heart when you're about to pull the trigger, and that's how he gets out of the way of it. It's not that he can see it, it's that he can sense it, like a hummingbird almost, or something. But it's kind of one of those things where if you're not buying in, you're not buying in. Right. So I couldn't get him to buy in. So I will always appreciate this show for, I think, doing a much better job of this than, say, like the Daredevil movie did, trying to showcase him as a character. But I don't know. I think that he was already enough of a priority of a character that they gave him a show on Netflix and tried this, and I think overall it was a success. I think that probably more people like Daredevil now than maybe did before this TV show came out. So I think they're going to give it, I think much like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, they're going to do their best to rest it as long as they can to kind of get everyone's palates cleansed a little bit. But I do think that they are on the horizon of coming back. I mean, I don't think they're going to rush Jessica Jones back anytime soon. But if the second Shang-Chi director wants to use Iron Fist in it, well, I bet you Iron Fist will be in that movie.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that just recently I was at a costume. We're getting ready for Halloween, and looking at the wide assortment of costumes, Daredevil was not one of them. Mm. And that tells me that I think the movies volumes.
Definitely are. I think the movies definitely carry a lot more weight when it comes to the public consciousness than the TV shows. But I wonder how much that's going to change once Because I mean, I've heard that these Disney Plus shows are costing like $150 million. So that's movie budget territory. That's Game of Thrones budget territory. That's not playing around money at all.
Yeah.
That's not The Gifted. Let's show Blink user powers off screen bullshit. You know.
Yep. And how excited! Like again, total tangent. I would really like to see that New Mutants.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with that, because Sam Guthrie was always one of my favorite X-Men. Like I remember when he got promoted to from being on like X Factor to being an actual X-Man. And
Which one was he? Sunspot?
No, he was Cannonball.
Nice.
And so just a guy named Sam, I always thought that was cool. You know, that was kind of one of my favorite guys, in the 90s. And then he was kind of like the young guy that was just trying to figure out if he even belonged on the team. So it was kind of like, oh man, I'm excited. Like I thought that casting Maisie Williams as Wolfsbane was brilliant. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know, but that's who she should be. Well, and so I was really excited about this movie. And then it just kind of went nowhere. Like the end, for me being a huge X-Men fan, the end of the Fox Men saga has really, like, Deadpool and Logan were nice, but the last two were really just thuds. And I don't even know if this last one's going to come out, because I feel like they're almost just I've heard rumors that they're just going to take out any references to X-Men or mutants or anything and just have this be the general horror movie with Danny and Sam and so in a lab. Like,
yeah, I was excited. The actress that's playing Magic, I thought was like, wow, that looks awesome.
Another actress that I thought was a nail. Like I thought they nailed the cat. Maybe all four except for Roberto da Costa, because they really kind of they really lightened him up for the movies. Mm-hmm. But everybody else, I thought, I was like, wow, I didn't realize what a good casting it was. And I don't know if it's ever going to come out. If it does, I wouldn't be surprised if it's called something else and they try and shelve it somewhere and sneak it out or something. But I do think that Disney makes so much money, and I think they've seen a lot of these Fox things fail this year. Yeah. I think that's where they've had a lot of losses, is that I think there's part of them that looks at it and goes, at what point is it not worth the like 30 or 40 million we'd make off this to damage our brand any further? Like, why don't we just, like, heck, we could keep these actors in these roles and bring them back for a better movie rather than burn them in this and have them never want to do this again, type of thing. So I don't know. I think that'll be interesting to see if that ever happens. But I'm bummed, because I really like the ambition of where Fox was headed, where they were gonna, after Deadpool 2, they were gonna do an X Factor or an X-Force movie with Cable and Domino and some of these people, and they were doing that New Mutants, and I thought they were going to tie a lot of it in all together, and then it just really went in the shithouse there. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just saw the Dark Phoenix and everybody just got depressed and we're like, oh, what are we going to do about this? Like, I don't know. Or maybe part of me thinks that Dark Phoenix got ruined by the merger a little bit, and that they had to go back and make changes to it to make it a little less like Captain Marvel, and then it ended up kind of ruining the flow of that movie, which it's still just ruined it, because they had to change the aliens in it and everything. It was not. It's a shame too, because I thought some of the casting for like Cyclops and Jean Grey and everybody was great, but they never got to be in like a really good X-Men movie.
They think too much about the franchise and not about the story, and that's ultimately that's why like I would really slow burn bringing the X-Men into this universe. Yes.
I've thought what I would do is I would kind of introduce mutants throughout certain movies. So like that's when you brought up Magic. Before they announced that Scarlet Witch was going to be in Doctor Strange, I was thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if he found a magic little Russian girl that was trapped in a demon universe and brought her back to her family, and they're like, oh, she fell in that portal when she was like 7 and now she's like 13, type of thing. Like, wouldn't that, like, I wonder, like, that's one of the things I look at when I look at these future movies is, where can I throw a mutant in there? And that was one of them. I think that Black Panther has two different opportunities. You could have Storm or Namor in a future movie there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think it would be really cool if Guardians of the Galaxy got to have like the Starjammers or the Shi'ar in it or something. Captain Marvel could do the same thing. Introduce, like, I think it's kind of neat that now that they have both the Fantastic Four and the X-Men back, they really have their whole crazy race of alien universes at their disposal, and it doesn't necessarily just need to be the X-Men only have this or the Fantastic Four only have that. They can really, it doesn't just have to be Kree people anymore, you know.
As long as they can find the stories are there. All they have to do is put it all together correctly. A majority of the job has been done. The storyboards and the script are all very much there. It's just a matter of saying to yourself, is this big, or is it a one-off that builds into something?
By the way, did you see that well, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but I remember last episode I complained about the World War II survivor that looked like she was 50.
Correct.
Did you see that the rumor going around, and I've only seen this on, I think I heard this on Fat Man Beyond, but I had this same idea. I just wish I had expressed it via podcast forum first, that they are looking into updating Magneto and Professor X as African American people
I've heard whims of it, and
now I threw that idea out there about a month ago on a Facebook group of mine, and my idea was to have Jeffrey Wright as Professor X, because I was just thinking of like powerful bald actors that could pull off being like a student or like a teacher type of thing, and I was like, oh my god, Jeffrey Wright would be perfect as Professor X. And I never came up with an idea for Magneto, but I thought it was an interesting way of updating their story to like the civil rights movement as opposed to being these World War II survivors.
And just moving the timeline slightly.
Yeah, and moving the timeline up a little bit. They could still be older, but they could still be their current, they could still be their current actors for 10 or 20 years, however long they want to make these movies. And I thought it was an interesting idea. And then I found out somehow it got willed into existence, and it might actually happen. I thought it was an interesting idea.
Well, actually, I think they're having Ari Shaffir as Magneto.
He can do angry, that's for sure.
That's right.
Oh man, I could just see him. He'd be good at the ranting part. That's for sure.
Yeah, could be good.
You wouldn't need to read his mind. He'll tell you what he's thinking.
That's right. Straight away. Away.
He doesn't even need the helmet. Go ahead, tell him what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Sober October all over again.
I think I'm joining up Sober October this year. I think that I'm going to try and do it.
As a person that is involved in a bar?
Yeah, I rarely drink when I'm there.
All right.
It's not very relaxing because you're constantly like, as soon as they get busy, you're like, should I go help do some dishes or something? Should I bust that table?
Yeah. You're a good man. That's why. Sober October is with us. Almost. Getting close. So, Sam, I want to thank you for joining me on this last really pretty heavy leg of this thing called Daredevil. And folks, if you are lasted this long, it's over. I can't remember what date the whole thing started. It was sometime in September. And, it took a year. I mean, what do you want? But here we are at the end. It's over. The whole thing.
Let's see. I'm trying just going through my notes to see if I had any bring out your dead comments here.
All right. Yeah.
And the one I got to give Daredevil credit to. It's one of the few Netflix or whatever shows that I do not skip the intro for. I love the music for it.
Of course you do.
When I listen to this podcast, I listen to the music for it, and I feel like that's a very rare thing. I was trying to think of modern TV shows that I enjoy
and they didn't intro. Change it.
No, it was the same all 3 years. I'd say the only one that I could think of modern day is I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine does a good one too. But
that's true.
I feel like like it's rare. I don't. Like, I'll skip the Friends intro. I don't need to hear it again.
Daredevil and House. Now, I say House. They used I'm gonna blank on it slightly. It's not Butterfly. It's regardless. I'm totally blanking on it. I'm sorry. But the Netflix version of House used a dub of the original song. But House is the only other show that I would watch the intro on because it got me pumped up and ready for the show.
I never watched House.
Massive Attack. Oh, stop it, Sam.
It's a gap in my viewing history, I guess.
It's Massive Attack, Butterfly, I think. I want to say Butterfly. Teardrop. Massive Attack, Teardrop. Look, you can stop what you're doing right now, and you need to start watching House and just be done with it, because it's fantastic.
I've watched Children's Hospital. Is it the same thing?
Same kind of thing. I'll watch the intro on that, too.
Oh, you know what? That is a good intro song now that I think about it.
Damn right it is.
Simple stuff. Previously on. Thanks for having me on here. I was glad I got to write it out with you. It was hard keeping my lip buttoned about future happenings on this show when you were still doing the slow burn. Hopefully we can pick up another show coming up. I don't know it's kind of bare for a little while. I don't watch Titans. I don't know about you. Yeah. And nothing Marvel's coming out till next year. Maybe we can do something for the Mandalorian or something, or maybe we can go back and watch The Boys or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to leave it to Twitter to ask if there's anything anybody wants us to recap, and we can come back and do something.
Look, I'm all about The Boys. I'm all about Legion. If I do Legion, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna eat an edible. And it's gonna get wild and illogical, because I think that's the only way you can actually watch Legion in a semi non-sober way.
Yeah, I think Legions are the type of show that sometimes makes you think you had an edible and you didn't even do it. And it's just
you have to come correct to Legion. So
I've really never seen a show that requires more attention span than that because I've done the thing where literally I looked down at my phone for a second because I got a text, look back up, and everybody was in different clothes in a different setting, and I had to go beep boop boop beep and go, what just happened?
So I will put it out to the fans, listeners. I say fans, but you're listeners. You're not fans. And what's next? Because we could go for a dry spell for a bit, but if there's something out there that needs work on, and I swear it won't be in a slow way, it'll be in more of a one-off way, and we'll get to talking about it, and potentially maybe bring a few of you in. I don't know. That sounds awful. It could be the floodgates. But Sam, thank you so much for being here. And thank all of you for holding out for an entire year of Daredevil. I mean, look, everyone else did this in 3 months. But you all did it in a year. Just think about that. That's how good this shit is. Well, maybe not this part, but the thing you saw. So thank you. And I will talk at you very, very soon.